this isn't a case where you're bringing certain animals into your studio. Sometimes you want to get out there, obviously, and get out there and get into the field and get into the scene to capture them in their environment. Take me through the process from when you were starting this book and what went through your mind when you said, okay, I want to capture A to Z, and how am I going to do that?
I think that I mean, one is a question of structure, which is very much that I think it's important to chase ideas. And I wanted to look at difficult ones like cosmetic surgery, cloning, many different creative grooming. This is a structural thing where I was chasing certain things I wanted to explore, the different working dogs and the show dogs. But there's a question here, I think, that's the creative question, which is when you plan something and you go out and you have a certain set of pictures you hope to achieve, the challenge is actually allowing yourself to observe, to see something, and not be distracted by what you thought you were going to get. And I think this is quite an interesting, so this, obviously the structure and how I'm chasing ideas rather than particular breeds, but I think the creative process is one where you've got to, in a sense, be willing to observe and be present. And working with the owners, I often treat the owners and dogs together, because if the owner gets stressed, it's passed on to the dog. So I see it as very much a unit.
Yeah, great. You know, I got a couple of questions. First of all, I was on your website, timflach.com, and I'm reading about how you actually had to you had the challenge of trying to make these animals comfortable. Now, this is also when you're doing sort of more wild animals, taking photography. What do you think your biggest challenge is, in all these years taking photographs of horses and wild animals and dogs? What's been your biggest challenge in getting that perfect picture, or dealing with that sort of perfect, majestic animal and getting them to cooperate for the photograph?
I'm not sure if you're asking me the most challenging shot, or whether, in a sense, the nature of this. I think that what's clearly that the old sort of saying, don't work with children and babies and animals.
And Aaron.
Sorry?
And Aaron, my co-host.
I think that I really enjoy that uncertainty, and I go out with a framework, an idea, and I actually like that relationship of uncertainty, the way in which something's thrown up. And what you find, I think, is far more interesting than what you search for. I think that this thing that you trip over something that comes out of a situation with an animal, and in a way it touches you, and I think it's then something that hopefully if it resonates with yourself, then it's something that potentially can work beyond that.
Do you find that you've had more of a connection with the general public in terms of, because this book is about dogs rather than some of your previous work, and because the dogs are just, the population, they just love dogs, and when they see this, they just create that human-animal bond right away. They just get so emotionally attached to a photo. Do you see a difference between this work and your previous work?
Well, I think the work I did, for example, with a macaque, which all bats upside down, which are very theatrical, I think they are very anthropomorphic. And I think the questions that are most interesting is actually anthropocentric, how we center our experiences around things. And in fact, when I started this project, I was very interested in sort of contemporary animal studies, which sort of looked at ideas of perceptual space, and how, we did one project where we yawned at a dog, and dogs yawn back. But the problem is, if you don't make it really genuine, it doesn't work. It's all got to be yawning, and then the yawn, it comes back. So in terms of the difference, I see it as a continuation, really. And that, yes, I think that one of the challenges, clearly the dogs are going to touch people more powerfully because of the fact that so many people are more closely connected to dogs than maybe to bats, for example. But in a way, it is a continuum for me. And one of the things I'm constantly wanting to do is to recognize that it's such a powerful subject matter, and to see if it can draw us to certain associations and ideas.
Very cool, very cool. Last question here, Tim. You've done the horses thing with the great book done in 2008, Equus. You've now done dogs. You've done a lot of wildlife animals. What are you currently working on? What's your next project?
Well, the other one I find quite a scary project because it's rather big, and it's actually looking at rainforests, and I'm interested in ideas related to ecology and economics. And I spent a month in Borneo before Christmas, and then the Amazon. And I want to look at something that isn't about moralizing, it's about revealing certain processes and being informational. One thing I always think is important for me is if I can raise certain questions and understanding. And I must say I find it really difficult to get through it, and I'm working at it, and I'm working on a book about the rainforest, but I've got a long way to go.
Tim, listen, I got to thank you so much for joining Pet Talk 360. And your work, like I said before at the beginning of the interview, your work is fantastic. It is jaw-dropping. It is a conversational piece. It makes people think, and it makes that emotional touch. And it's very rare that you get that. And you nailed it right on the head. You're doing a fantastic job. I can't wait to see what you come out with next with the rainforest. It's going to be brilliant. And for more information, people can go visit you. Cliff has got your website right here at Tim Flach.com. TimFlach.com.
TimFlach.com. And, of course, these books can be purchased online or anywhere that books are sold.
Yeah, worldwide. It's a great seller. It's a huge seller. And it's for anybody who has a passion for photography, for being an artist, or as well as just animals, this is a must-have. You got to go buy this book, and it is a must-have, without a doubt. Tim, listen, you have a wonderful night in where you are over there in the good old England and London, wherever you are. We're just your Canadian brothers.